The first words that left my mouth that day still echo in my head. My daughter wanted to get rid of me, so I sold the house she thought was mine. If you're already wondering how a parent could do such a thing, stay with me until the end, because this isn't just my story. It's a story about betrayal, love, choices, and what really matters in life. And if you believe family should stand together through the hardest storms, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because the lesson I learned is one every parent, every child, and every human being needs to hear. I was 63 years old when it all began. A retired teacher, widowed for over a decade, I had raised my only daughter, Sarah, on my own. She had been the reason I never gave up, even when life was cruel. I worked 2 jobs after her mother died just to put food on the table and make sure she never felt the absence of love. I gave up dreams, comfort, and even my health sometimes to make sure she had a chance to chase hers. And for many years, I believed I had done right by her. She was brilliant in school, ambitious, and always told me that one day she would buy me a bigger house and give me the rest I deserved. But life has a way of showing us the cracks we ignored. It started with small changes. Sarah would visit less often after she got married. Her husband, Kamran, was polite but distant. They both had good jobs, a busy life, and I tried not to burden them. I thought it was just the way life moved on. But then I started noticing her eyes linger on my house a little too long. This wasn't just a house. It was the place I had built memories with her late mother, the place Sarah had taken her first steps, the place that carried every tear and every smile of our little family. One evening, she came to me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Dade," she said softly, "you're getting older. Don't you think it would be better to move into a retirement home? You'd have people to take care of you and, well, you know, this house, so it's big, maybe we could put it to better use." The words hit me like a knife. A retirement home, for my own daughter. I forced a smile, pretending not to be hurt. "I'm fine here, Sarah," I told her, but she pressed again and again, until her husband finally said what she wouldn't. "This house would be perfect for us, Uncle. You're alone here. Why don't you let us take it over?" That night, I sat awake staring at the walls. These weren't just walls. They were my life. And suddenly I realized the daughter I had sacrificed everything for didn't see it that way anymore. To her, I was a burden, a stepping stone, something to be moved aside so she could live comfortably. Days turned into weeks and the pressure grew. I overheard her once telling her husband on the phone, "He doesn't even need the house. It should have been mine already." That broke me, because love is not measured by what you inherit. I wanted to shout, to fight, to tell her everything I had done for her. But instead I stayed quiet, thinking, if my daughter only sees value in me through this house, maybe it's time to show her what real value is. So I made a decision. I put the house up for sale. When the buyers came, they were an elderly couple, kind, warm and gentle. They had lost their home in a fire and were desperate for a fresh start. As I signed the papers, I felt an odd peace wash over me. This house would hold love again, just not mine anymore. The day Sarah found out, she stormed into my tiny rented apartment, eyes blazing. "How could you do this?" she screamed. "That house was supposed to be mine." "You had no right." I looked her in the eye for the first time in years without fear. "Sarah," I said quietly, "that house was never yours. It was never even mine. It belonged to love, to memories. And if you wanted it more than you wanted me, then maybe you never really understood what family means." She was speechless. Her anger melted into tears, but not the kind I remembered from her childhood. These were bitter tears, frustrated tears, the kind that come when selfishness is denied. She left without another word. The weeks that followed were lonely. I questioned myself many nights. Had I been too harsh? Had I failed as a father? But then something unexpected happened. The elderly couple who bought the house invited me over one evening. They told me they wanted me to see what they had done with it. When I stepped inside, I almost cried. They had kept my wife's garden intact, preserved Sarah's old room with the painted walls, and even framed a photo of me with my late wife they found in a drawer. "This house had so much love in it," the woman said. "We want to honor that love." In that moment I realized I had given my memories not an ending, but a continuation. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had lost a home. I had gained a family, not by blood but by kindness. Months later, Sarah returned. She looked tired, thinner, her marriage strained. She sat across from me, her eyes avoiding mine. "Dad," she whispered, "I was wrong. I thought the house was everything. But I see now it was never about the house. It was about you, and I almost lost you. My old heart, though bruised, couldn't stay closed forever." I reached across the table and took her hand. "Sarah," I said, "you'll always have a place with me. But love has to be bigger than bricks and walls. If you can learn that, then maybe we can start again." We sat in silence, holding hands, two broken people trying to rebuild. And though the house was gone, a new home began forming in that moment, inside us. So if you've stayed with me this far, remember this family is not about what you own or what you leave behind. It's about love, respect, and the moments you share. Don't let greed blind you to the real treasures in your life. And if this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe. Because together, we're building something stronger than any house. We're building a community that values love above all else. The words still sting when I remember them. "Dad, don't you think it's time you moved out? You'd be happier somewhere else?" She said it gently, almost sweetly, but I could feel the weight behind every syllable. My own daughter suggesting I leave the only home I had. And for what? So she could have it for herself. Now, before I take you deeper into this story, let me stop here and ask, have you ever felt unwanted by the very people you sacrificed everything for? If you know that pain, stay with me until the end, because the choice I made will shock you, and the lesson I learned could change how you see your family forever. And if you believe parents deserve love and respect, not abandonment, hit that like button and subscribe. Because stories like this need to be heard. I remember sitting at the kitchen table that evening, staring at my tea. The house was quiet, too quiet. My late wife's laughter used to echo in these walls. Sarah's giggles used to fill the living room. But now, the only sound was the ticking clock and my daughter's words replaying over and over. A retirement home. As if I were a piece of old furniture to be stored away. Sarah was my whole world. After her mother died, I never remarried. People told me I should, but how could I? My little girl needed me more than I needed companionship. I woke up at dawn to work extra shifts at the school, then stayed up late grading papers so I could pay her school fees. I patched her shoes when money ran short. I went without new clothes for years so she could walk into class looking like she belonged. And this is why her request cut so deep, because every brick in that house wasn't just cement and stone. It was sacrifice. It was love turned into walls and a roof. To hear her dismiss it all, I felt like my heart was being peeled open. The days after that conversation felt heavier. She started visiting less, but whenever she did, her eyes scanned the house. Her husband, Cameron, wasn't even subtle. "Uncle," he said once while running his hand across the wooden banister, "this house is big. Too big for one man. Wouldn't it be better in the hands of a young family?" He smiled, but his words sliced. I smiled back weakly, but inside I was screaming. Did they see me as nothing more than a placeholder, an obstacle between them and a piece of property? One night I overheard Sarah on the phone. She was in the hallway, her voice hushed but sharp. "He doesn't even use half the rooms. Why does he need it? It should be mine already." That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, clutching an old photograph of her as a child, her hair in pigtails, her smile wide and innocent. Where did that little girl go? I thought long and hard, and finally, I made a decision that shocked even me. If my daughter believed the house defined my worth, then I would take away that illusion. I would show her that my love, my life, was not bound by bricks, so I sold it. The buyers were an elderly couple who had lost everything in a fire. Their eyes lit up when they walked through the house, touching the walls with reverence. "It feels like home already," the woman whispered. When I signed the papers, a strange calmness settled in me. The house that once held my memories would now hold theirs. When Sarah found out, she stormed into my small rented apartment. Her face was red with fury. "How could you do this?" she shouted. "That house was supposed to be mine! You betrayed me!" I sat quietly, then looked her in the eyes. "Sarah, that house was never yours. It was never even mine. It belonged to love, to memories. And if all you saw in it was inheritance, then maybe you forgot what family really means." She froze, her anger faltering. For the first time she had no words. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sorrow, but of frustration. She turned and left without saying goodbye. The loneliness that followed was unbearable at times. Nights felt endless. I asked myself over and over, Had I failed as a father? Was this my punishment for giving too much? But then the unexpected happened. The couple who bought the house invited me over. They said they wanted to show me something. Nervously, I returned to my old doorstep. When they opened the door, I gasped. They had preserved my late wife's rose garden, kept Sarah's childhood room painted just as it was, and even framed the family photo they found. "We felt the love in this house," the woman said gently. "We wanted to honor it." That tears burned my eyes. That house hadn't died, it had been reborn. Love still lived there, just with new hearts. Months later, Sarah came back. She looked exhausted, her marriage strained. She sat across from me, her voice trembling. "Dad, I was wrong. I thought the house was everything. But it wasn't. It was you. I almost lost you." For a moment, my pride wanted to push her away. But my heart, a father's heart, could not. I reached for her hand. "Sarah, love is bigger than walls and bigger than pride. If you're ready to remember that, then we can start again." We sat together in silence, but in that silence something began to heal. Not the house, not the past, but us. And that's the real message here. Family is not about possessions. It's not about what you can take or inherit or claim. It's about love, respect, and presence. A house can be sold, but the bonds you choose to nurture, those can last forever. So if this story touched you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because together, we're building something stronger than any house. A community where love comes before greed and where respect for family is what we value most.